All right, the next step of this process is we're going to be cutting the groove in our end pieces and our side pieces that is going to accept our 1/8" plywood that's going to be the base of our serving tray. The way we're going to do this is here at the router table, we have an 1/8" or 6mm straight cut router bit installed in our router table, where we're going to be doing 3 passes, slowly working a deeper and deeper groove into each of our pieces. We're going to be using this depth gauge to help with that, and we're also going to adjust the fence here so that it is the exact place we would like it, which is going to be 23mm away from the center of our router bit. So I'll bring you closer and show you how that's going to look. And as a reminder, whenever we are making adjustments to the router bit, we should make sure that the power to the table is off, and you can double check that by trying to turn the router table on. The first part of the setup is we need to set our distance from our router bit to our fence, and we want the distance from the center of the router bit to the fence to be 23mm. The router bit is 6mm in diameter, so that means it's got a 3mm radius. Anyways, all you need to know is that I've made this 20mm spacer block for us to use. You loosen the 2 clamps on the fence, pull it towards us gently. Once this is snug, we're going to tighten down our clamps on either side, lift up our spacer block. We can store it back here. And now we know the distance from the center to our fence is now 23mm. Now that we have set the distance from our fence to our router bit, the next step is to set the height of our router bit. So how to adjust this is with this Allen key, which can be found underneath the router table. The first thing you need to do is bring this to unlocked, so have this arrow pointing here to unlocked. Then you're going to put the Allen key in this hole, and if you spin it clockwise, the router bit goes up, and if you spin it counterclockwise, the router bit goes down. So we're going to bring it almost all the way to the bottom, and the next tool I'm going to show you is called a depth gauge. So this is the Veritas depth gauge, and the way it works is there are graduated numbers on each side. The first height we want to set our router bit to is 1/8 of an inch. So we want to find it where it contacts 1/8, which is the first mark on the depth gauge here. So we need it to hit the bottom of this step. And so what we're going to do is we will place the depth gauge on the router table so that 1/8 is sitting over top of our router bit. Then we are going to raise our router bit until it contacts that mark. It's just touching there. So we know that it is 1/8 inch above the table. We're going to now lock our height back here. The arrow is pointing to locked. And we're going to move our depth gauge away. And now we have set the distance from our fence to our router bit, as well as the height of the router bit. Now that our fence is set and the height of our first pass on our router bit is set, we're ready to use the machine. One last thing I'm going to do before I start processing is I wrote bottom on the bottoms of my side pieces. The reason I did this is so that I remember which side to place against the fence and which side to have away from the fence. This way I just don't mix it up. It would be very easy to. So I just wrote the word bottom. That way I know that side goes against the fence. You don't have to do that with the end pieces because it's pretty clear what the bottom is. You want the handle facing out. Now we're ready to use the machine. We're going to use a combination of a push pad and a push stick, or 2 push pads if you'd like, to push our stock across our router bit. We want to be moving from right to left. Otherwise, the piece could get sucked out because it will be doing what's called a climb cut. But we want to work against the blade, so we'll be starting from the right side and moving to the left side of the table. So we're going to be using a push pad and on the back a push stick. And we're going to turn the table on, run our piece all the way across, And again, remember, we want the bottom of our board against the fence. Run the piece all the way across, remove it, do the same thing with the other 3 pieces. Then we're going to turn the machine off. We're going to raise the height of the router bit to 1/4 of an inch, and then we're going to continue and then process all 4 pieces again and raise it again to a final height of 3/8 of an inch. So we'll be starting at 1/8, and then you'll flip the gauge over, and on this side it is 1/4 of an inch, and then you'll flip the gauge over again, and you'll finish at 3/8 of an inch. I will show you how this looks. Again, bottom of the board against the fence. I have my eye protection and my push sticks. Here we go. And moving from right to left. Here we go. There's the start of our slot, start of our groove. Now I'm going to power off the router table. I'll test it, and now unlock the height, get my depth gauge so that 1/4 is over top of my router bit, raise it until it just contacts, then lock my height. Now I know my height is set at 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to run all 4 boards across in the same orientation. A reminder to place the bottom against the fence. And for one last time, we're going to raise the height of the bit. I've powered off the machine, tested out, unlock, get my depth gauge and put it to 3/8 of an inch over top, and raise up the height. Now it's just contacting there, so I know I'm at the right height. Make sure I re-lock the height. I can power on the router, and I can do my last pass on all 4 pieces. And now you can see we have a groove in both of our end pieces and of our side pieces, ready to accept our 1/8 inch plywood. Now we're ready to move on to the next step.